Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox, along with my co-host, as always, Clem, for another X-Men 97 recap edition of My Mom's Basement. I'm very excited to talk about this episode, as I am every week, because this show just continues to deliver. X-Men 97, I would say for me, I think I said it last week, it's just beyond my expectations. Every single week, I'm like, yep, this show continues to be friggin' awesome.
At this point, I don't want to say expect greatness. That sounds like such a hard thing to say, but I just expect good TV every single week. And I think we even got with the Motendo one an all right episode. It was fun, had its like quirks to it, and there was like a lot of little fun Easter eggy things. And it's like, yeah, we're just gonna get quality every single week, which is all you can really ask for in this crazy world we live in.
I do want to apologize to the listeners this week because we were supposed to have an in-person episode, our first in-person episode in a long time. Clem was coming into the office for the NFL draft. We do the NFL draft show at Barstool every year and stuff. Unfortunately, I have a fever. Like, it's like I'm 4 years old again. I've had a fever all week, which is like the weirdest thing. We were just talking about it. You texted me today. You were like, listen, you're young, but you're not like young to the point of getting fevers like this. But yeah, it's finally breaking. It's finally coming down, but it's been a weird week.
As a dad, and for all my other fellow basement boys and girls who have kids out there, you know the struggles of the fever when you have kids. And then if you then get sick from your kids, then you get an adult fever, it fucking wears you out. You forget how much fevers suck in like the time between like elementary school essentially and your 20s in Robbie's case, or your 30s, 40s, whatever it may be. And man, it wears you down. And I said, Bob, like, take your time, don't rush. That was the other thing. I think COVID, I know whenever I got COVID, I usually end up with a fever. And I think COVID kind of reminded everyone how much fevers fucking suck. So my guy Bob, I said, take your time. We'll get to another live episode at some point. In the next year, I'll try to get to HQ again. And I'm just happy you're feeling a little bit better. My guy goes to, most people go to Cancun, they get like Montezuma's revenge, or they have like alcohol poisoning. Robbie thinks he got an ear infection.
I got water in my ear while I was down there. It could have been that. I don't know what it was, but I got the Mexico flu, apparently. That's like what I'm calling it now, because I came back from Mexico and just fever up the ass. It's crazy. Well, not up the ass. I shouldn't say that.
I mean, that's the other Mexican flu, is it usually comes up the ass. And we talked about this before we went live. The one, like, it wasn't even a perk, but it was like one of the things that didn't really suck about fevers is at least you got the bubblegum medicine. The bubblegum medicine was Dimetap was one of my power rankings as a kid because it was like grape flavored. Actually, no, you know what? That was 2 on the list. Bubblegum medicine was 3. And number 1 on the list was Luden's cough drops, which weren't even they were candy. That was such bullshit that if I'm like Ricola, I'm like, these guys get to market as cough drops. It was just straight sugar. You can't.
I mean, no ads, but I have like the real ones here, and like they don't taste very good. The Luden's ones, I mean, like you said, they're candy. I'll buy those and just have them.
They're lifesavers.
Like, I don't even need a cough.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It doesn't work because it's like everything in life. If it tastes good, it's not good for you. Yeah. If it tastes like shit, it's good for you. And that kind of goes into cough drops as well. But I will say, like, the bubblegum medicine was for like antibiotics a pretty good thing. My kids had ear infections so often as kids, they had to go to like the next level up, and the next level, it was like a white medicine. It tasted gross. They hated it. So shout out to the fucking people that made the bubblegum medicine, amoxicillin. I love that shit. And our boy Bob is back, and we're very happy to be back in the basement.
I was going to say shout out to us, the Basement Boys, because I saw yesterday, as we're recording this, we're recording it on April 26th. Yesterday was 5 years to the day since Avengers Endgame came out, which means it's about 5 years since we did our first episode together. First episode of My Mom's Basement together was an Avengers Endgame preview. And then, of course, the next week we did our recap show. Go back and listen to those. If you go on Spotify, you could sort oldest to newest. I'm not going to listen to them because I feel like listening to ourselves 5 years ago would make me like cringe. But I saw that and I was like, oh shit, 5 years ago, Avengers Endgame. There you go.
I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go see what we sounded like 5 years ago. I mean, we were always pals, so it's like, I think we would have some good chemistry, but the hype, I just want to hear the hype in my voice being like, oh my God, this is coming. I believe that was in HQ too, right? We did in that like little conference room downstairs.
Yeah. We couldn't even find like a podcast studio open because we didn't have a lot of those in HQ too. So yeah, we found like a random business conference room and we did it there.
Oh man. So yeah, check that out. I mean, go watch Endgame again. Listen to the recap. Shout out Triggs. I remember we had
Yep.
the US cap, me as Thanos. It was the sickest fucking artwork I've ever seen. So yeah, man, shout out the Basement. 5 year. Thanks to everyone who have hopped in along the way.
And how many times do you think you've watched the Portal scene in the 5 years since it came out? I tweeted maybe 500 times. Like, I think that maybe lowballing it.
I'm gonna venture to say I've watched that scene more than any other scene in any other movie in my entire life. Is that crazy to say? Because I've watched Die Hard a billion times. So it's like I
Yeah.
guess I've watched a Portal scene a billion and one times because I've probably watched a certain scene from Die Hard that many times. What would you say is your most watched scene in the history of movies? Do you have one?
It could be that. Like, other than that, I'm trying to think. Like, there's not scenes you go back to and rewatch like that Portal scene. I was listening to Son of a Boy Dad the other day. Lil Sass said he used to watch that before he went to work out. He's like, I'm not even a Marvel fan, not even like a comic book guy. He's like, I would just watch that, take pre-workout, and go to the gym because like, that is what the Portal scene is. So it would either be that or Cap lifting the hammer for the first time. I would have to imagine.
And that's Endgame has both of those moments in
Yeah,
it. So they
they happen
definitely
within 10 minutes of each other. It's crazy.
like and like not to get dark, but we talked about it really quick. It's like I remember during like the pandemic and shit, it was kind of like a bummer. You were just sitting at home bored, and whenever I was just like down or just bored, I would just was like, fuck it, let's throw on the Portal scene, and it just
Yeah.
like got me amped up for like a good 20 minutes there. So, and then obviously the battle scene was incredible. So, man, it's crazy looking back. 2019 Endgame came out. I mean, Thrones came out around the same time, which is very much the yin
Yeah.
and the yang of franchises, landing or not landing the plane correctly. And shoot, I can't believe it's been that long already.
I know, kind of feels like yesterday. Like the fact that it has been 5 years of a post Endgame Marvel is like, what? I feel like Far From Home just came out and we were like, oh yeah, Tony Stark, the graffiti, see his face everywhere. Like it's crazy.
I can imagine. I want to think of 2019 Robbie and Clem talking to us 2024 Robbie and Clem and be like, man, what's the MCU looking like now? 5 years later, you get to have all that. You probably had so much crazy fallout from the snap. Bless you. You probably had all this like really cool stuff that they did, and then you introduce all these new characters and be like, I'll tell you, man, X-Men's back. It's awesome.
Yep.
That's really all I'm going to tell you. Other than that.
And you know what else I think would shock us is to be like, oh, and by the way, the best post Endgame stuff was from Loki. We're
Yeah.
like, that guy's dead. What are you talking about? No resurrections.
He said no resurrections. That was the one thing we were promised. Oh
So
my
funny.
God. So fun.
Also, since we last did a podcast, we got a new trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, a very good trailer where we actually see Hugh Jackman as Logan for the first time in this movie. Because, of course, the last trailer, you kind of saw glimpses or shadows of him. We get him full on in this. He's failed his universe. There's shots of him maybe at like X-Men grave sites or something when he's standing next to pillars and stuff. He looks amazing in the yellow suit with sleeves, without sleeves. Feels like they're still holding back on the Wolverine cowl for the movie, which I think is cool. I hope this was the last trailer. It probably won't be because we still have months until it comes out. It's July 26th. So it's actually however many months from now. 4 months? Is that right?
We don't do
The
time.
brain's not working.
We
Brain's not working.
don't do time. We don't do, again, going back to 2020, that's when time,
Yeah.
dates, weeks, months, they cease to exist in my world personally. So it's never coming back, ever.
We got Cassandra Nova. She's living in like, or I don't know if she's living, but operating out of like this giant Ant-Man carcass in the void. Pretty awesome. Some cameos: Azazel, Lady Deathstrike, Toad. Some cameos that we didn't expect to see, especially going back through the X-Men movies and watching them. I feel like we watched First Class and we were like, yeah, Azazel kind of stunk. No chance he's in Deadpool and Wolverine, but anything's on the table apparently. And of course, it ends with that portal scene that everyone is speculating about because it's very Doctor Strange like portal. Looks like it came from a sling ring. It's like, where are they jumping? I love the theory that they're jumping into the final battle in Endgame and they're immediately going to jump right back through the portal and they're going to go, nope, we don't want any part of that. That shit is crazy. The thought of them also being there for Endgame, being in the background and us not knowing, I think that would be funny as well. But maybe it's the battle world, and this is, leading into Secret Wars. Maybe it's to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe, or the X-Men 97 universe. There's so many possibilities on the table. The way they teased it in the trailer makes me think it is a big moment.
I'm hoping so, because I'm getting really gassed up by all these theories, and I hadn't even thought about some of the ones that you just mentioned. And then if they're just like going to Doctor Strange's wine cellar, I'm gonna be like, well, god damn it, man. Like, even if they're going like hang out with Wong for a bit, that would be cool. But
Madison
yeah,
opened it
yeah,
for him.
exactly. I'm watching Sopranos. I like if it is the Endgame battle scene, I need Doctor Strange to do this spell that he used on Peter Parker to like make him forget everything. I need to forget that would be the case, because I will geek the fuck out in the movie theater, because I geeked out at my computer, like seeing it on like a Twitter thread or something. I need that moment to happen on the big screen, and then whatever happens during the scene. It would be like so Deadpool-y if they're like, nope, fuck this, and they did just jump right out. You said that. Or like they did like a wink and nod to some other stuff that people picked apart. Like Deadpool's like, quick, we got to get all the girls together. And that would explain why all the girls just happen to be together.
That would be really funny.
She has help or whatever. So, also, you mentioned it quickly. Metal Watch. The giant Ant-Man corpse skull that they come out of. What the fuck kind of stuff was that? People are like, is it Hank Pym? Is it fucking what's his name? Paul Rudd? Another Ant-Man. No matter what it is gnarly and metal.
Metal. I've seen people speculating that they're going to use the skull for Cerebro, because Ant-Man knows all the Ant-Mans, and you could do. There's going to be some weird stuff. Although I saw the director of this movie came out and said, like, you don't have to see any Marvel stuff prior to this movie. And I'm like, how is that going to work? Because you're doing cameos and Easter eggs and all this from however many people. But he's swearing that, like, you don't really need to see a lot to see this, which I guess is good. We're fans, so it's like we've seen everything. It doesn't really matter for us. But we want this to be the big movie that turns everything around for Marvel. Probably for the best that they're not like referencing Secret Invasion and She-Hulk and shit like that in there.
Yeah, and our boy Heavy Spoilers did say, like, so we had Endgame. Then they said the Spider-Man No Way Home was the or no,
like the epilogue or something.
It was
or
the
Far From Home.
Endgame for Spider-Man.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They said this could be the Endgame for the Fox franchises, the X-Men franchises, and all that stuff, and Deadpool obviously. So I'm like, that would be pretty sweet. And you kind of have those old characters coming back, and then, obviously they're going to go with new actors at some point. So I would love to see that if it happens. You mentioned Toad. If Ryan Reynolds truly is the Ryan Reynolds that I know and love, and he has his pulse on all the Marvel fans' thoughts on everything, he will have Toad killed by lightning, just like in the first one, and he's gonna like do the wink and nod about how awful the line it was, how awful of a character it was. And listen, Darth Maul, Schmarth Maul, I don't care. That character stunk. There's no nice way to say it. It had nothing to do with the actor. It was the character. I hope he gets just destroyed instantly. Like, what do they call it in wrestling? When you get just crushed the guy? Squashed. We need a squash Toad. We need to squash him, electrocute him, light him on fire. Azazel sucks. Lady Deathstrike. I had no problem with her. I actually was kind of bummed that she like died the way she did. I would have liked to have her just in the background of the X-Men stuff, but in the end, they didn't really do that kind of that. They didn't go too deep into that. And you left out the most important part of the trailer.
What's
in
that?
my humble opinion, the two most important parts. One, let's fucking go seems to be it's going to be the rallying cry. And if that's going to be the rallying cry for the movie, you're getting your rated R hardcore Deadpool. And then they end with like the cocaine jokes that aren't cocaine jokes, but it's kind of the wink and nod. And it's like, all right, we're not going to have this thing censored by the mouse. Cause that's, I think, my biggest worry going into this before we started getting trailers that told me Ryan Reynolds is going to do Ryan Reynolds shit.
I thought you were going to say the most important part was when Wolverine low blows Deadpool with the spikes out. That shot is crazy. Just sticks him right in the dick. Yeah. That's wild.
And I guess actually the third thing is, you alluded to it before, the thought of like, I always love when you go to the different universes and you find out what's different. That was one of my favorite parts of Multiverse of Man. It's like, oh, this is the one where Thanos failed, or this is the one where, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the one where Wolverine lets everyone down. It's like, I kind of want to see that universe. Maybe a couple corpses is going to make me feel really bad about things in my life. So I am stoked for that. And I hope we get I hope we do some good time or universe jumping where we get to see different universes. I think that's a very cool thing with the multiverse, and we haven't done too much in the MCU.
Agreed. I would like to see that as well. Let's get into X-Men 97, but first, of course, we got to shout out our friends at Game Time. Did you know? I just went on Game Time to check out some seats. Clem, guess how much you can get into the Mets game tonight for? Take a wild guess.
$25.
$1. $1 gets you into Citi Field tonight for Mets Cardinals. Game Time is the best in the biz for this reason. The cheapest tickets in the world will be found on Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. You shouldn't have to worry when buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all of the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have flash deals for sudden discounts, zone deals when you're feeling flexible, and their lowest price guarantee means that if you could find the same seats for less anywhere else, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. That means they're paying you to go to an event that you want to go to see. They are the best place for last minute tickets with up to 60% off your favorite events. What are you waiting for? You should buy those Mets tickets right now. If you're listening to this before the game happens, $1. You can't beat it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code MMB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So you get the $20 right away. You could get into possibly 20 Mets games with that.
Bring a family of 20 to a Mets game for a nice affordable price. Can't go wrong with you. A family of 20, you have a whole other set of problems. I also would like to apologize when I did the Yelp, I guess you could say is the sound I made there. When I heard the dollar, if I chose anyone to drive off the road there, I'm working on banging down, but the energy comes out. It comes out of me. It's a kinetic energy. I can't really do much about it. So it's going to come out of me one way or another. I'm Italian. I am, very emotional, I should say.
And you're watching The Sopranos right now, which adds to it.
Ooh, halfway through season 2, man, and it just hits all those high peaks as much as I remember. That show is so good.
Yeah.
Shout out Papa Della Bella. Shout out Papa Della Bella.
Of course. Speaking of good shows, X-Men 97, we got episode 7 this week. It's called Bright Eyes, right?
Bright Eyes, yep.
Bright Eyes, because that's something that Rogue says to Cable in the original series. She calls him Bright Eyes.
Hey, Bright Eyes. You like my Rogue? Hey, Bright Eyes.
Pretty good. You know what? It's good that it doesn't sound like you're Miss Minutes. It's a very fine line you got to walk, but I could tell the difference.
I wish we had. Do we have anyone that so I'm thinking Mincy is like our Louisiana rep. Does Megan making money? She doesn't really have a Louisiana accent, does she?
I think she does a little bit.
Does she? I have to
not like a thick, harsh one, but I'm pretty sure she's got
harsh. We need to hire someone. It's kind of crazy. Dave had to somehow hire a girl with a thick Southern accent. I love the Southern accent. So
it is. You would think Dave would hire like a Big Bertha with a crazy Southern accent or something, and he would just fall in love with her.
That I'd say over under 2.5 years until that happens, and I'm probably taking the under on that.
So X-Men 97 opens with the funeral for Gambit, some of the fallen mutants this week. Very sad. Nightcrawler giving the eulogy was cool, though. Made sense. Him being the more religious X-Men character.
My boy was spitting.
He was.
One thing is to just do the whole Our Father, Our Son, yada, yada, get the Eucharist out, whatever it may be. My guy was fucking dropping gambling lines that would have made Gambit shed a tear. He's like, when, the house, sometimes you hold them, sometimes you fold them. I don't even know what he was saying, but Gambit would have loved it. It was all the kind of silly shit. What did he say? He basically was saying how Gambit was a good dude, but he always acted like he was a sinner that couldn't be saved. And he's like, you're... he held his hand tight, but his he was such a good person, but he never really showed, and that was his way he held his cards tight to his chest or something. I was like, listen to fucking Nightcrawler making me emotional about another cartoon character. It was incredible.
He's so good. Nightcrawler is one of the best X-Men. He always has been one of my favorites, and X-Men 97 has just made that more clear.
Yep.
They got the swords in the intro. Like you said, he's a fucking sword guy. Everything about it. Even I like the fact that he wasn't in it right away. It took a couple episodes. You brought him in, brought him back in. Loved that.
And he, without getting weird about this, and I understand this is a very weird thing to say, he strikes me as one of those church folk that's allowed to, like, he's a freak in the sheets, just like Professor X. You can't tell me he's not, and he's not like, you hear that voice. That's a man of the cloth who also is a man of the sheets. It's two of one of the same. Like
he's using that tail for more things than just,
You said it, Bob.
Sneaking
not
me. Up, yeah.
You said it, Bob, not me. But he definitely did not take like the vow of whatever, like the Sopranos father did, right? He's not just looking for Big Ziti. He's looking for more than that. From his
Rogue, meanwhile, is on the hunt for answers. She's still pissed off. Every scene with Rogue, she's basically like tears in her eyes, just like white knuckling, fucking give me answers. And heavy spoilers, one of our favorite YouTubers reminded us that she has absorbed Captain Marvel's powers at this point, which I had completely forgotten about. I don't even know if I remembered that in the first place. So she, like, for people saying Rogue is overpowered, yeah, she kind of is. Like that, she has absorbed Captain Marvel's power, so she could do whatever the fuck she wants at this point. We also saw a quick Thunderbolt Ross and got like a quick Hulk mention. They were like, "Oh yeah, like this place has been built to hold a Hulk." And I was like, "Ooh, we gonna get Red Hulk and X-Men '97? That'd be sick."
Little wink and nod there, right? How I put in the notes, Rogue went rogue. She just was like, I'm going crazy.
She's off the map, fucking people up.
Did you get, I wrote in the notes, I got Invincible vibes from her, like the tears, the anger, anguish, and then just the beating the absolute piss out of anyone that got her angry. And it's like, this thing's built for a Hulk. A Hulk ain't got shit on a Southern Belle that's pissed off. Let me tell you that. So no offense to my dog, Bruce Banner, but Rogue was fucking shit up more than he ever could. That shit ain't Rogue proof.
And another thing heavy spoilers mentioned in his breakdown, the kick that she does is her kick from like Marvel versus Capcom, which I thought was a very cool, like such a nerdy Easter egg and reference to even spot that and be like, that's the one from Marvel versus Capcom. Like you earn your nerd card with that one, but I thought that was really cool.
The first, or not the first person who saw it, every person who saw that and noticed it and then got it reaffirmed that that's what it was, shout out to you guys. I mean, I have that with like if the Endgame Portals moment happens, I will geek out like that. That's pretty obvious. If you got that something that niche and it's like, oh no, we meant to do that. Again, it's just another example of this show. Like you can watch it with no history of the X-Men, or you can know what Rogue's kick is like in Marvel versus Capcom, and they are going to make everyone walk away from the show and happy. It's crazy.
Dude, it's like in the Deadpool trailer, there's the sequence where Wolverine like swings at him like 1, 2 uppercut or something, and people have put it side by side with Flash fighting Peter Parker in the first Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in the hallway, and they're like, it's the exact same sequence. What are they referencing here? It's like, how do you remember the punches flat? I don't know how people spot this stuff. That being said, when I saw that, I was like, maybe that's just like stunts 101. Is that like a good sequence to throw? I was like, what could they why would they reference that, you know?
It's like when people find out that this song and that song sound the same, they have the same chords. It's like, it's a good chord. It's like, that's a good 1, 2, 3. Or it's like, to be honest, like comic book, few of them might be on the spectrum and they kind of could just see things, the Matrix, the way I can't see it. So hey, shout out to them. And when it hits, it's more likely to hit than not with X-Men 97. There's always a nod. Ever since that ponytail with Jean Grey, who, by the way, doesn't have the ponytail again.
They flipped us this week. That was crazy. Because I was immediately like, oh, I know that's Madeline. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, it's not.
And is she like fucking with Cyclops being like, hey, remember your dead fucking fake wife that wasn't me, but it was me? You had a baby with her and it wasn't mine. Like Jean Grey just playing old-fashioned mind games. She doesn't have to jump in your head to fuck with your mind. I kind of dig that about her. Redheads, spicy.
Do you think part of him is trying to figure out how to approach Jean about being the Goblin Queen for Halloween?
Oh,
he's like, it'd be cool if you were like, if you dyed your hair black and wore like black and, maybe had like a goblin or something.
No, he says gremlin. He's like,
Oh
oh, like
yeah,
a
yeah.
gremlin, and then
Gargoyle, maybe something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, no, like I'm talking. I want you to be like Elvira from those
Yeah.
Halloween movies. That's just a coincidence that it was the girl that I had a child with and almost destroyed us and all of our like closest friends and family here in the XMen mansion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him either. For as much shit as Cyclops take, it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot.
But yeah, Jean Grey, she's got long hair, not ponytailed again. And in this scene, the United Nations are basically telling Scott they're on their own. They're like, we can't like do the mutant cleanup on Genosha anymore. So like, you guys got to figure it out. Classic comic books, the government just being like, pushovers, not pushovers, actually the opposite. Like they're not doing anything.
And he's calling like it is. Like, I am playing politics. I'm basically doing this. He's like, if you either have me who will like try to help out a little and say the right things, or you just have the guys who are like, kill mutants. He's like, I'm not that guy, so you should be happy. And my guy's Cyclops, and he just like, fuck you. He hits like a big red hang up button, if I remember correctly. Like, is that what they had back in the 90s? I don't remember that.
That was the easy button that he hits. Yeah.
I wish he used his fucking Cyclops laser. Like,
oh, that would have been good. And then someone like Morph walks in. He's like, oh, I needed that. I'm about to go on a call.
It's like third time this month you broke the fucking easy button hang up button. And is it because your wife isn't the Goblin Queen and things in the bedroom aren't as fun as they used to be, Scott? I think we know the answer to that one. He's frustrated, as they say.
Yeah. And then Rogue goes and meets Captain America, my guy Cap. I was very excited about this scene, very excited to see him, and very excited to see they kind of fixed his design from the original 97 cartoon, because I went back, I vaguely remembered him being in an episode. Went back and looked. They give Captain America like tighty whities, like they give him the Superman red underwear in the original with like a yellow belt, and it's very bizarre. But in this, they did away with that. They made him just look like normal Captain America, and it was a very like Winter Soldier-esque sequence where him and Rogue go down to this basement. On the screens, there's like the Operation Zero Tolerance stuff. Looked like that scene where him and Natasha go in the basement of the SHIELD headquarters, like the Jersey SHIELD headquarters. Really cool seeing Cap though. And he's basically like, I could tell you where Gyrick is, but I can't like help much. I can't go with you. So Rogue just gets mad and she grabs his shield and yeets it into Bolivian. This shield, Captain America might as well go get a new shield because there's no way he's finding that.
Now, Robbie, trust tree. We're in the basement. I know you taking a few days to record this episode. Have you been faking your sickness because you didn't want to have to address the fact that your boy Cap is clearly at best Team Human and at worst Anti-Mutant?
He's not Anti-Mutant. He's not Anti-Mutant.
He's not pro-mutant. He's not.
He's definitely Team Human. Like no doubt he's Team Human. But I take umbrage with one thing you put there. You said my Cap. This isn't my Cap. Chris Evans is my Cap. Okay. And that guy would be so pro-mutant. That guy'd be the most pro-mutant guy in the world. He'd be so pro-mutant, people would be calling him a lib. Like this Cap, I like this Cap. But he's not my Cap. I was excited to see Captain America, but yeah, Steve Rogers played by Chris Evans. That's my guy.
I would try to split hairs here, but I do love the word umbrage, and you used it very well there. So I'm not going to get on you anymore.
I did slip that one in. Slipped in some SAT vocab for those at home.
You did. And I can still hear like the sickness in your voice. So you would have probably stopped playing it off after you went through the Cap soliloquy. Tough look for Cap too. It's like, what did she call him? Like the number one cop or something like that. There was some
calls him a narc.
Like you fucking narc loser. America's number one narc. When she yeets that shield, and the funniest thing is, Cap doesn't have any powers to help him get that shield quick.
No,
he has to hop
on the motorcycle and try to find it in the middle of the snowy forest. Like you ain't finding it, brother.
That thing is gone. It's like
you better have one of those air tag. No, it's 97. He doesn't have an Apple AirTag.
Does he do the little wings on his mask work? Can he fly with the wings? Because that's the only other way I can think of getting that shield. Like within a week of after it gets thrown.
How great would it be if they like really need help? Like we know we're about to approach on a 3-episode finale, like part 3. It's like who's gonna save him in the end? And like Cap finally rolls up. He's like, I was looking for my shield this whole time. You could have had me.
If James Gunn was in charge of that episode, that is how Cap would have showed up to it. 100%. Like wet still because it's like
Yep.
he was in the snow so long. Yeah, 100%.
He's got like 5 o'clock shadow under the mask. He's just like, I've been looking for this shield. I haven't slept.
It was a gift from a dead man.
Yeah. There's some stuff about Roberto not coming out to his parents yet. He eventually does come out to his parents, and his parents are like, we knew all along. Very Bobby X2, like we're playing this as it's coming out as gay, but he's coming out as a mutant.
I'm just gonna say it. I alluded to it a little bit in like past episodes. I do not care for Sunspot and his entire storyline. I just do not care about Roberto.
He's definitely like one of the weaker parts of the season, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. And maybe if I hadn't seen this play out in like every other X-Men piece of content, especially like the Iceman thing, but it's like, yeah, we know, we get it. This part has been hammered home. Again, maybe first time for people watching the show the first time, they have to do this to show like, hey, this goes to the home where the whole, like you said, coming out with the powers is tough. For me personally, I'm like, all right, let's just get this. This is the vegetables. We got to eat them to, get to the good stuff. I've also never been a big Jubilee fan either. So if it was maybe Colossus or Storm was with them, it would be different. I'm just like, my brain is, I realize this about myself. Are you like me where like during a commercial break, I couldn't tell you one commercial that just played?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
you could watch it, yeah, but it just goes in one ear out the other.
It's like when you're driving and you're like, wait, I just don't remember the last 5 minutes of driving. Yeah, exactly. That's the same way with me. And every time these two are on screen together, I'm like, I couldn't have told you one thing that just happened. They could have told me like the spoilers for the end of the season, and I wouldn't have even known. They're like, and Magneto comes alive, and then he.
Yeah, I feel like you got to do it like you said, either with better characters present, like a Cyclops or a Storm or someone like that, or you have to outdo the X2 scene, which I don't think they did here. Like the X2 really well done, and like especially knowing it was 2004 or something like that, it's like, oh shit, they were kind of ahead of the times with this. But yeah,
have them speak Portuguese, and then you have subtitles, and I have to read if I want to know what the fuck's going on. That's what they should have done.
Quick side tangent here. Last night, I watched the beginning of the draft. I just wanted to see up to the Commanders pick, right? And Jaden, he's our guy, Super Bowl inbound. And I immediately said, all right, I'm going to treat myself. I'm feeling horrible. I'm sick, but I haven't watched the Equalizer 3 yet. And you know how much I love the first Equalizer.
Yep.
I even love the second Equalizer. It's nowhere near the first one, but it's very good. I was so disappointed by the third one, Clem. I couldn't believe it. There's barely any equalizing. Denzel barely equalizes. For a second in the beginning, he equalizes, and then it takes an hour and 10 minutes for any equalizing to happen again. And half the movie's in Italian, which was a weird choice. You say the subtitles. I was like, what the fuck is going on? The whole movie's in Italian.
Did you sit on the remote maybe and like fuck it up? Like that could have happened, Bob. Like that sounds like it's
bro, the whole movie, it's like maybe 40% of it's in English. It was crazy.
Now, did they name this one three equalizer, or was that like an internet thing?
That was an internet thing. That's where they made their first mistake, because it should have been called the 3 equalizer. And you should have included 3 times the amount of equalizing. Like the first 2 equalizer movies, they end with like a Kevin McAllister-esque. The first one, he rigs like a Home Depot to be like traps and whatever. And the second one, he basically rigs like Nantucket Island or something to be like that, like during a storm, so everyone's vacant. It's awesome. This one, it was like, I watched it last night. I could barely tell you what happened.
Not equalizing. That's the one thing that you could tell me. It's just
and when he was equalizing, it was pretty good. Like anytime he was on screen equalizing, he grabbed someone's nerve. He's like, I'm going to make you shit yourself. I'm going to make you shit yourself right now. I was like, oh my God, he's Robert McCall. But yeah, it was very bizarre. And I texted Feidelberg about it. And I was like, you might be the only person that like I could text about this, because I know he's into all the same kind of weird, like not great action movies that I am. And he was like, dude, I couldn't agree more. He's like, I left the movie and I thought they didn't see the first 2. They didn't know what people loved about the first 2. So yeah, sorry, side tangent, but you mentioned subtitles and I just had to get it out there.
Had to be said. People have to know about Equalizer 3 before they just hop in expecting a lot of equalizing. It's not 3 equalizer for a reason.
Yeah. Like on its own, it's not a bad movie. Like there's nothing like bad about it. but like coming off the heels of the first two and this being like the conclusion, yeah, it was weird. All right, back to X-Men 97. Rogue goes and confronts Gyrick. He tells her he's got like an anti-mutant psychic power, or he was like injected with, I don't know how he got it, but he's basically, he has like an anti-psychic thing. Is that right? Am I remembering this right?
I have anti-psychic like skin or gel on or something. Like he did say
Some
something
weird
like
shit.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got some weird shit on. He's a bit of a pervert. And she confronts Trask.
But yeah, it's a perv move, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
he's a bit of a pervert. Yeah. She also confronts Trask, and it's like a badass Batman moment when they're like, when Batman's got the guy, he's like, fall from this height wouldn't kill me. And he's like, I'm counting on it. He fucking drops it. Rogue just drops Trask. She's like, I think she kills him, basically. She's like, I don't care. I'll fucking kill this guy.
Murder.
Tears in her eyes, But he comes back, and he comes back as this like creepy ass human sentinel. And it was in this moment where I kind of like, I was like, this is an awesome moment, but you would never be able to do this in live action. I don't think.
Mhm.
At least, the speed and the way in which they did it here. It made me appreciate them using the cartoon medium for something like this. You could do it in comics, obviously. You could do it in a cartoon. And it didn't come off as silly, I don't think, in this episode. I was just like, oh, shit, he's a human sentinel. But imagine this in a live action movie where it's just like, now I am Big Robot.
Look at my glowy eyes, and I can shoot stuff out of my mouth or something. It would have been very tough. In my head, I can see how they would make it work. Between that and actually getting on screen are two very different things. But yeah, the cartoon does it perfect. Rogue dropping him off of there was gangster. Him coming back as a Sentinel zombie was gangster.
Gangster, yeah.
Wolverine being like, yeah, Rogue, go Rogue. Everyone else is like, oh my God, Professor X would be so upset. He's like, I would have done it myself if I could have gotten him, bub. Like, I
great.
kind of appreciate that side of the thing, the emotions of how everything went. And it's like, yeah, we're not dealing with, hey, sugar, and she's going to drop some like, you got the tears of a newborn duckling on a Louisiana river, like weird roguisms. She's dropping motherfuckers out of buildings right onto the ground. It's awesome.
It's awesome. It just makes me like Rogue way more. Like seeing that she has this side to her. Like I feel like in a lot of the X-Men stuff, at least the stuff that I've seen, she's usually portrayed as like a little innocent. At least like when she first joins the team, especially like live action movies, she's very much like, I feel like she's like timid and like very afraid of everything. In this, not at all. Also, did you notice the Stark Industries? It was the Stark Industries billboard.
Yep.
Maybe a tease for hopefully the finale. I would love to see Iron Man join the fray. We got Captain America. Like, why not?
I wouldn't hate it. It would, that we have to make sure it doesn't look like Robert Downey Jr. There has to be whatever the original Iron Man was, because we need to like separate the live action.
Oh, look who's trying to separate the live action from the cartoon.
Have to do it. I mean, if you want to say they're the same, we could say that was Chris Evans' Captain America, that is anti-mutant. I think he called her the M word when she turned her back, and he's like, stupid mutant throwing my shield as far.
Oh, that would have been, I would love a director's cut where it's just that scene slightly extends and she walks away and goes, fucking mutant.
And Cap is kind of like on an island, because I guarantee there's humans who are like, he's a mutant. He injected himself with the super serum. And the mutants are like, we do not claim him. He's kind of in no man's land for that, because he's a narc, and no one wants to have the narc.
Oh, all right. You didn't have to go there. You had me. I was like, decent point. Yeah, no.
Also, let's just shout out Nightcrawler for being so goddamn smooth. It was like, you had the lover, you had two. And it's like, whoa, he saw the sparks that were flying when they were fucking dancing. That dance scene was so weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was very long. Yeah. Also, Morph in this moment, I want to shout out because he turns into Quicksilver. Now, I don't know if I fully realized. No. Are you in the same boat as me? Morph can just turn into another superhero and use their powers. I thought it was a Mystique thing where he can look like anyone.
It doesn't make any sense. Like,
he hasn't done this before, has he?
I could have sworn back in the day, like the first episode, I mean, before he dies, I think he was like Wolverine and he had claws and they're like bing and the claws, and I'm like,
well, why is
he has adamantium
all the time? Then? If he could just heal like can he just turn into like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet?
Yeah, and turn into the Sentinel, a bigger Sentinel, and kill the little Sentinels, right? It's like, what are we doing here?
I think he's having fun. I think he's like, I think it'd be fun to kill his Sentinel as Quicksilver.
He's basically like Dr. Manhattan. He is the most powerful mutant in the entire galaxy, and he just does stuff for fun. He's like, I'm going to try to be Quicksilver. I could end every threat we've ever known by, again, turning into Thanos or something else. But
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like slowly. I'm gonna slow. He could turn into like Super Sinister and just fuck up Mr. Sinister. He's like, nah, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good. He's like the fucking like superstar you draft, and it's like if he just applied himself, he could have been better than Michael Jordan. That's Morph. He just like, nah, I feel like being Quicksilver today. It's the weirdest thing, Bob, and I've never gotten the answer since 1992 or whatever. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'm getting more questions the longer this series runs because now
Yeah.
I just do not know. And now you're right there with me. It's one of the great unknowns of
Although
all
I'm
of the
still a
Marvel
big
universe.
Morph guy. Like my like number one takeaway from X-Men 97 is like Morph is one of my favorite X-Men, apparently.
All push comes to shove, there's no one I'd want to like have like a bro night out with more than Morph. When he brought the
Yeah.
beer, the cigars, and was like turned into Sabretooth with Wolverine, I'm like, that's just a dude. That's a bro right there. He's always has your back. He knows the little things that make you happy. We could poke holes in Cyclops being kind of like a hardo, Wolverine being like, let's be honest, a hothead.
Super hardo, yeah.
Yeah, Nightcrawler being kind of like a pervert in his own right, right? And you kind of just go. Gambit would just be talking to gambling puns the whole time. The
Yeah.
girls,
Jubilee and Sunspot, you're like, all right,
nothing.
you have fun over there.
Yep. Rogue, I'm like scared of now because she just will murder people. You know, the bad
Yeah.
of eyelash. Storm be pretty cool, I guess. Jean
Yeah.
Grey, she's living in your head. I don't want to have someone who can read these
No.
fucking thoughts. Hell no. So yeah.
No.
Robbie's like, fuck no, I can't let that out.
No. Not with Jean Grey. So Bastion is finally revealed. The big bad behind it all is revealed in this scene. It's Bastion, voiced by Theo James, great actor who's in The White Lotus. He's been in a bunch of stuff here and there. He's in The Gentleman right now on Netflix. And Sinister has been working for him all along. He actually mentions, you just mentioned X-Men started in 92. They say that here, which I thought was a nice kind of like, oh, if you know, that's cool. He's like, I've been trying to get these guys since 92 or whatever. And Bastion, revealed by Bo DeMeo on Twitter, the creator of the show and everything, has been in every episode of X-Men 97 so far. In just a little corner of the screen, in the shadows, in a disguise. He is in every episode because he's been there all along. He's been there since the beginning. He is coming after the X-Men. He's like kind of like a anti-mutant machine that was like put together. I think he's like part Nimrod or something, which is another character we've seen in the intro, inside Master Mold and stuff. Nimrod, I just think a Green Day album, to be honest, whenever I hear that. But yeah, Bastion, he's watching the Shi'ar as well. That's like, he's got him on the screen, the Shi'ar Empire, so he knows about Xavier being over there and shit. He's not an X-Men villain I'm very familiar with, but I'm here for him.
I have no idea about Bastion, and I'm not looking up any of his stuff. I'm going to kind of just like find out along with the show. I don't know who the fuck Nimrod is either, and people keep talking about Nimrod.
I keep hearing Nimrod. I'm like, I think he's just that guy they're showing inside the Sentinel. I don't know, though.
Nimrod is like an old school, like, hey, Nimrod. It's something like Biff would call, Martin McFly's dad when they were young. I don't understand why that guy's like, give me yourself Taserface. You're just making yourself look like an asshole. So I don't get it, but this guy Bastion, he's fucking shit up. And dude he had Magneto, and he's just fucking playing games with Magneto. He's like
shaving
wings off a fly. He's shaving him.
Yeah,
our boy Magneto. You know what? I hate to say it. He kind of deserves this because what he was doing with Gambit crossed a line. That's crossing like workplace, whatever. We probably have to do some sort of training on that for Barstool. It's like you can't, if you're dating your coworker, you're dating a coworker. You also can't be like zinging your coworker who used to date your girl. Like that's just fucked up. And so he
with all the training sessions and yeah,
exactly. Just straight up shaving him.
One thing I want to point out though that Jose Youngs, actually, our boy Jose Youngs, tweeted us today. He said, this is Joseph, okay? Right here, this character I'm showing here, Joseph. He's a clone of Magneto who was originally created to destroy the Master of Magnetism. He had a spell leading the X-Men while believing he was the original Magneto who had de-aged while suffering amnesia. He also grew rather close to Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
So Jose is seemingly saying they might be doing another bait and switch like they did it with Jean Grey. I don't think they could do it twice in one season because of that. But he's saying just keep your eyes and ears peeled. Maybe Magneto's still out there, and this is some clone named Joseph.
I mean, this is soap opera 101 right here. It's the
Yeah,
the twin brother,
you're right.
the identical twins. So I feel like this is going to happen. I think at this point, we're going to have to go through every character in the show and be like, twin or
They
actual
real?
real character. And we're going to be like 50-50. It's going to be like,
Yeah.
nope, that was Nightcrawler's twin, but that was the real Wolverine. And this was potentially Magneto's like clone, I guess clone twin, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck to make out of all this. That blew my mind, the whole Joseph. I
Yeah.
never knew that was a thing.
And heavy spoilers again, shouting him out a lot this episode because he had a great breakdown. Thinks that Bastion may be trying to create something called Onslaught with Magneto. Onslaught is a Sentinel made using the consciousness of Professor X and Magneto. And if you look up what this guy looks like, oh my God, it's badass. He's basically just a Magneto Sentinel. So he's got like the Magneto helmet and shit. I would just like to see him at this point because the character design is so cool. So I hope that Heavy Spoilers is right in that.
I did like a little fist bump being like, oh, let's fucking go. What does this guy have in store for us? So I'm with you on that. I want to see it. I hope it happens.
And that's it for the X-Men 97 episode 7. I've seen some theories and rumors about this leading into Deadpool and Wolverine because Bo DeMeo tweeted he's handing it off to Ryan Reynolds. He's like handing it off to Ryan Reynolds. He says something like cheeky, like don't fuck it up or something. And people are saying, what if, because we've seen Beast, because we've seen Professor X in the yellow chair, Beast in the lab coat, and obviously this Wolverine kind of looks like X-Men 97 Wolverine. He's got the yellow spandex. What if the finale is all the X-Men except Wolverine dying, and it leads directly into Deadpool and Wolverine?
It does feel like, at the very least, we could enter that universe at some point, whether or not it actually is, that. So.
And this show has such amazing response from critics and fans alike. I think they're going to do a lot more with this universe, even beyond just the show. I could see an animated movie coming along. I could see them visiting this universe live action, like you're saying. I could see, a new video game taking place in X-Men 97. Like, I think this is truly only the start.
We need more just like side scroller, easy to play video games. I get them on PlayStation Plus here. It comes like free with my subscription. We had the Ninja Turtles when we talked about. Mm-hmm. We have Rayman, which was like an old PlayStation game. The kids love it. I love it. Easy to play. Video games were just fun. That's all they were. And we get an X-Men 97. Doesn't have to be like a clone of the original arcade game. It could be. Or just, I think there was like X-Men Genesis games and stuff that were fun. Let's do that. Yeah, there definitely were, because fucking Nightcrawler was awesome in that game. Yeah. It was everywhere. So we can get it done. Just get it done. Waldron, you're the only guy I know that occasionally listens to this podcast. It's all on you. Get it the fuck done, man. Get it done. Tolerance is Extinction, parts 1, 2, and 3 are the final 3 episodes. So we're dealing with a big old fat arc to end the season out here. So pretty exciting stuff.
Definitely. Just a few quick things before we get out of here for the week. Wanted to remind everybody that 1 week from today, on May 3rd, Tales of the Empire will drop. We got Tales of the Jedi last year, a couple 15-minute shorts and, random characters focused on and stuff. They're doing that for... I was surprised they didn't do Tales of the Sith, but they're doing Tales of the Empire. They released a clip with General Grievous and stuff. Looks good. Looks very good. The trailer looks great. So I'm excited for that. I'm currently planning on May 4th going to see Phantom Menace in theaters because I want to see that new Acolyte trailer at the end. Also, I've never seen Phantom Menace in theaters. I was too young for it when it first came out. And then I didn't go to the 3D release because I don't like 3D. So I was just like, if they put it back in theaters normal, I would have. But and then the only other 2 things. Happy birthday, Giancarlo Esposito. Love that guy. Yes. He's great in so many things that we love at this point. The Boys, Breaking Bad, The Mandalorian, list goes on. And you're wearing a Simpsons hoodie, so I wanted to shout out Larry, a character that's been in The Simpsons since episode 1. He was sitting at Moe's bar. They killed him off.
R.I.P. my dog, Larry the Barfly, as they call him. I read the article, and at first I saw like Bar, and then I saw Bar enough times. I'm like, they killed Barney on The Simpsons. I got like mad. I was like, I got to write like RIP blog on this. And then I realized it was Larry. Be honest with you, I think Larry probably could have died like 30 years ago at this point.
I don't think people said he like barely ever had any lines.
Yeah, he just sat there, and everyone, you'd recognize him. If you watch The Simpsons, you know, even
Yeah.
a little bit, you would recognize the guy. Moe's is a tavern that, like, it's not made for long lifespans. And the fact that that Larry lasted this long is truly amazing. So I'm sure he didn't have a family. If he did, I'm sure they really didn't like him, hence why he was always at the bar. But my thoughts and prayers do go to them nonetheless. So
yeah, I didn't watch the episode, obviously, but people were saying it was like kind of like they were saying they tried to make it emotional about how like he was just sitting there silently his whole life and like nobody talked to him, and they like actually like made that a point to bring up in the episode. Kind of funny.
I love to hear the pitching of that when the writers are when they're like, let's just kill Larry. I think
let's kill Larry. Yeah.
And it almost feels, I hate to say it, but it feels like when spoiler Donnie dies in Big Lebowski. And it's just someone who doesn't really have all that much, but he goes away and is, you know, reminisced by a couple of Mama Lukes, just like the dude and Walter. So that's sad. I am thinking about taking my kids to the Phantom Menace in the movie theater,
really?
so they could experience just how awful that movie was on the big screen for the first time, just like I did. And you'd be like, oh, now the thing is, I waited for years for that, where, you know, they wouldn't be waiting. But man, that was a spectacular. It was the biggest letdown I've ever had in my life in terms of.
It was your Equalizer 3.
Yes, it was my Equalizer 3. It was my Equalizer 3. But luckily, that will all be washed away, because when I watch Tales of the Empire,
yep,
I honestly think we'll see Darth Jar Jar and everything he was doing behind the scenes, that George Lucas was too much of a pussy to put in episode 2 himself. So Darth Jar Jar, get it done. God damn it. One time.
That's gonna be the hashtag for this week. Hashtag get it done.
Hashtag get it done. Let's do a quick look on Twitter here. I feel like that might be another big.
Oh, it has to be Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah, right.
Get it done.
A lot of female athletes here. It seems to be a big.
We're feminists.
Yeah, we
support
the ladies. We support the ladies here. May just be a lot of people who like are just athletes in general. So get it done. It makes sense here. Nonetheless, get it done.
Hashtag get it done if you made it to the end of this episode. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thank you for putting up with my sick voice today. Hopefully next week it'll be gone.
Double hashtag feel better, Bob.
I appreciate that. And we'll be back next week to break down the first part of the XMen 97 season 1 finale. Tolerance is Extinction, part 1.
Is that a Magneto line? I think it is.
I think it is.
Awesome.